Hello and welcome to the second ever interview here on the Long Shot Pod. Super lucky to have Alex Caruso, a College Station hometown hero, 2016 All-SEC and SEC All-Defensive Team, 2018 All-NBA G League, 2020 NBA champion. I'm reluctant to say that one. The Caruso clothing brand creator, and of course, LA cult icon Alex Caruso here with us. Thank you for joining us, man.
That's a full spectrum intro right there. We appreciate y'all having me, man.
Yeah, no, we try to touch all the bases on the intro. You know, both.
I just want to put an asterisk on one of those, though. You know, it says All SEC defensive team. It should have been Defensive Player of the Year. We won't talk about it.
Wait, was that faulty research or was that?
No, it's accurate research, but faulty voters. You know, I think there was some bias. A couple Kentucky players got some awards that year. You know, it's whatever.
I know how that goes.
You can see I still hold that close to my chest.
As you should.
Yeah.
Hey, so I want to take first the listeners back to when we actually first met, which was back in Santa Monica. I believe it was 2016. Yep. You were in your pre-draft. I was just finished my sophomore year of college. And actually, funny enough, Davis was out there as well. So Davis and I had a personal connection with the trainer, Noah LaRoche. Davis was like shagging rebounds for you all summers, basically. You don't remember him.
No, it's true.
Davis, I don't, dude. I don't. Oh, you were there with integrity?
Yeah, I basically served as a cone. Like, my job was to rebound and just stand there and act like a defender.
Everybody's got their role, you know?
100%. I would also like to point out, we're all the same age on this call. We're all 26. But like Duncan said, you had just graduated from A&M, and Duncan had like 6 more years of college at this point.
You know what, man? I took my time with it.
Getting the most out of the experience.
Exactly, dude. Good things take time. But anyway, so I get out there. I'm super nervous to be out there because it's a bunch of basically NBA players or soon to be NBA players. And one of the most comforting things was you were just super friendly, like right from the jump. It meant a lot. It made me feel like, all right, you know, maybe I could do this. And then the first drill, we're literally like warming up. You go baseline and you go between your legs and dunk it reverse, backwards. In any level of comfort of like, I could do this, just like completely diminished. Like the one guy that I thought I was like kind of maybe like close to just had this like otherworldly athleticism. And meanwhile, I'm just like shooting corner threes, like trying to get my shot off.
Dude, I don't remember the baseline dunk, but I don't doubt it. You know, it was pre-draft. So if it was first day, you know, I was probably juiced up too. I was probably hyped. I was excited to get in there and see what it was all about. Dude, the Santa Monica days were great though.
They really were.
I didn't know anybody. That was the thing. Like I knew George Yang a little bit, just from playing against him one game in college, and even Sabonis a little bit, just one game in college. But I really didn't know anybody, man. And for me, like that was kind of my whole like growing up. I would go to camps or I'd go to like random AAU events and like only know a couple people. And I'm like, well, all right, I'm just gonna be friendly and hopefully someone like wants to like talk back and go from there.
So how much I just want to ask, like, clearly I've already described where my mental was at that point, which was I knew I was not ready to be an NBA player, which was good that I could go back to college. For you at that point, where were you at in terms of, I know you probably thought that you were capable of playing in the NBA, but like where was your mental at that point in your career? Just finishing up, you obviously had a big time career at Texas A&M and you guys were great. You guys won a lot of games. And I think at that point you were probably fringe, maybe getting drafted. You weren't quite sure, but it's just interesting to see how far you've come from that point. But where were you mentally at that point in your career?
Man, to be honest, I was just taking it day by day. Like, I think I was so naive to understanding how good I was at the time compared to other guys versus like how good I thought I could be. I don't think, you know, looking back now, it's easy to see that, you know, my ceiling's a lot higher than I thought maybe, or other guys that were in the draft that I was playing against, ceilings weren't as high. But, you know, I didn't really have any expectations with it. And I think that's why I had so much success in the long run, you know, because I didn't put myself in a box as far as like, okay, I can't do this, I can't do that. I kind of just went out, and it's really, to this day, it's like my same motto is like, I'm just going to go play as hard as I can and play as best I can. And wherever wherever the cards fall is where they fall. And that's kind of what it is. So, going through that pre-draft process, that was the first time truly, like, I never did any like skill development growing up, right? Like I did a little bit like you did in college, like during the summer, you'd be there for summer school and go through like your normal stuff. But like, I never did any drills like that. I never really like put time into skill development. I always just played. Like I grew up, I just hooped. Like I'd find 8 guys, 6 guys, 10 guys, and just roll the ball out and go play at the park or something. So going into that was like the first time with the Integrity Hoops and knowing all them, like working on my body and like doing yoga and having like shakes afterwards and like being mindful of all this stuff. So for me, it was a really dope experience just to like realize like, okay, this is what I get to do for like a living now. Like this is going to be sweet.
So a couple things. First, I was making those shakes, so I hope that they were enjoyable.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie, they were a little off-putting the first time I drank them. They were a little too healthy. I wasn't used to that level of health, but I got used to them.
Yeah, my job was just to make them purely for recovery. Taste was not a factor at all.
That's 100% accurate.
I'm curious though to hear you say that. That's fascinating to me. Like you hadn't done skill work like that or yoga or like, did you notice, was that summer a turning point for you and like, oh, okay, this can help me take my game to another level?
Yeah, we had done bits and pieces of it in college, but like I said, it was really just during the off season, like during the summer for your 4 to 6 weeks, whatever your each summer school session would be. Outside of that, like I didn't really know that's like what you're supposed to do, like to get better. I thought you just naturally like got better as you got older. I was like, that's just how it happens. Like you either get better or you don't. That's what it is. So it was really eye-opening for me just to, like you said, just to realize like, okay, like I could tell in that month that I worked out there, I was like, well, I've gotten better since I've been here. And like, this is like, I'm a very curious guy. Like I want to know why stuff happens. I want to know how it works, why we do it, how it's going to play out. And so for me, like figuring out in that month, like, okay, I did A, B, and C, and it led to these results. I was like, okay, well now I'm kind of like intrigued. I'm hooked. And yeah, it really helped me moving forward. And the longer I've been a professional, the better I've been at being a professional, getting my work in, making sure I'm in shape in the off season, making sure that I'm cognizant of what I'm putting in my body, getting recovery, all the little things that go into being a pro.
For sure. I think just hearing you say that, obviously I had a G League experience in my first year. And what I've really learned from the G League is that there's so much opportunity there, but so much of it is how you approach it. And every opportunity that you get, and on the day in, day out, it's like a true separator of like, all right, who's going to be a professional and handle their business? Because when you get in the NBA, it's like the resources and the coaching staff, it's almost to the point where you don't even have a choice. Like they're going to make sure that you handle your business. And
if you don't, you're not going to be there.
Exactly. But the G League is different. You might have 3 people on staff, so your video coordinator is also doing your workouts and everything in between. Yep. So it's like, I'm curious as to how much you saw that mindset create a competitive advantage for you when it came to your G League experience, particularly in your first year before the 2-way, when it was just, OKC Blue, showing up every single day, trying to prove yourself in your first year as a pro.
Yeah, I mean, one of the crazy things about that is I really just let my like natural competitiveness kind of drive that. Like every day I just went in and just competed with whatever it was. And a lot of times it was just against myself, right? It's like, I'm going to see how like, I don't feel like working out today. It's like, all right, no, you're going to work out today. Like you're going to do more than you were actually going to like originally do because you didn't feel like working out today. And, I think I was lucky landing in OKC, like you said, just because they have one of the best G League organizations, in my opinion, top to bottom. The way that they do their player development, the setup they have for the players with housing, with the facility where you have access to it whenever you want to go in and get shots in. That's not a thing that every G League team has. Like some people have a rec gym or a a gym somewhere where they have a time slot and they can only be in there at that time. Like I was able to go in whenever I wanted to do that. And I mean, the G League, man, one of the biggest things I think people get caught up in the G League, because there's a lot of talent in the G League, right? Like I know I've played against people that are more talented than me in the G League, but they might not have had that grit, that toughness to work themselves out of that 1 or 2 years in the G League and make it to the NBA. It's just like self-awareness, man. Like you're in the G League for a reason. Like once you can drop your ego and realize like, hey, I'm not in the NBA for a reason. What do I need to do to get there? What am I good at? What do I need to get better at?
Yeah.
It's simple as that.
It's a super unique league too, in that it's you said it. I mean, it's full of so much talent. Like the amount of talent that's in, I think that it could be argued that it's the second most talented league. It's probably not the second best just because
you can make an argument for most talented. Yeah, second most talented.
Yeah, but what's interesting is that nobody actually wants to be there, which is crazy to hear that. But the reality is like everybody's trying to get to the next level. But you're right in that there's a disconnect of like how to do that.
It's crazy. It's crazy that you say those exact words. Is we used to talk about that in Oklahoma City and in South Bay, after you have a game where you don't play hard or you go out and you're flat and you give up like 130, 40 points to some team you probably shouldn't. I remember having like specific conversations out loud with my teammates and even sometimes with the coaches. It's like, none of us, this isn't the end destination. Like people go to the G League and you get caught up, because it is treacherous still. Like it's so many games, so many hard travel days. Like it's just some dark times that you forget that there's a goal in sight. Like there's somewhere down the road that you're trying to get to. Like nobody makes it to the G League and they're like, nice. Like this is like, I've made it. Like coaches are trying to make it to the NBA, trying to make it overseas jobs, trying to get experience. And the same thing with players. Like nobody is there to have that be their final destination. And that's what trips a lot of guys up, is that they get in this rut of just being there and thinking that eventually they're going to be, move on somewhere. But a lot of it is, it depends on how much work you put in and the situation.
So that makes me think that, and this is a question for both of you, because you both were then two-way guys. Is there just, it's such a different environment all of a sudden, right? So like, I imagine with the G League, you're now the big man on campus in a sense. It's like you're starting to get out and people look at you that way a little bit, but then it could be the next night you get called up and you go to the Lakers or the Heat and it's the complete opposite. You're the bottom of the totem pole.
The roster.
Yeah, so those environments are just so drastically different. How does your mental change in each, and is it hard to sort of switch on and off?
Yeah, I mean, for me, the two-way contract was a way for me to kind of get used to that. Just because, like you said, like when I was like all second team all G League my first year at South Bay, and then when I went up with the big team, I would get DNPs, maybe get like spot minutes here or there, and then towards the end of the year, I would start playing because guys would be out or the team wasn't where it was supposed to be in the playoff picture. But yeah, I talked about that a lot with LA media, just about, flipping my mental approach every time I'm with a different team, because when I'm with South Bay, I'm more of a leader, more vocal, have the ball a lot more, take more shots, like all that kind of stuff. And then, you get called up and I got guys like Rondo and LeBron James on my team. It's like I'm gonna take a back seat to those guys. Like they know more than me. They're a little better at basketball. Like I'm gonna see what I can learn from them. So it was tough though, like balancing that dynamic of being one of the leaders, being one of the first guys, first guys that everybody talks about on the scouting report to somebody who gets forgotten about. It was a challenge for sure.
Yeah, I just going off of that, I totally relate to that. The challenge comes in that mental shift, in that, and I had to do it for 1 year, but what I tried to do was all right, if I'm going to be in Miami, I'm just going to try to learn as much as possible. And like, I'm probably not going to get many reps. I'm probably not going to play at all, but it's like, how can I just mentally gain an edge and really learn what it takes to like get on the floor at this level? And then I actually I don't know about you, but like, I loved going down and playing in the G League where like you could play through mistakes and you could like showcase like, I'm capable, like I'm improving, I'm getting better. And that's something that I really noticed with you. I remember playing you summer league. My first year of summer league, you played with the Lakers in Sacramento. We played you guys. And I had first met you in 2016 and then that was 2018.
Yeah.
And to see how much you had improved since then. And it wasn't so much that like, you were like dominating from a statistical standpoint, but like you controlled the game. And I think that that's one thing that's really important when people look at G League players is this type of stuff translatable? And for you, it's like you had a very, very specific, like I saw a vision of what you could be. And I obviously the Lakers did too, but it was just crazy for me to see you in 2016 and then see you in 2018 and see how much you had grown. And I gotta imagine a large amount of that should probably be accredited to the South Bay Lakers staff, or where do you think that really comes from? Obviously yourself. I mean, you deserve all the credit for the work, but to put you in those types of situations, I mean.
Yeah, I mean, I like I said, I talked OKC up earlier. I think I got really fortunate with the two situations as far as, being with Oklahoma City's G League team, the Blue, and then being with the South Bay Lakers, because I think, those two organizations I obviously don't have anything else to compare it to from the outside looking in, but those two run their G League systems phenomenally as far as like player development, coaching staffs, having, guys that want you to get better, that have an interest in like helping you. And then also, man, it's just, it's just getting used to it. Like I said earlier, man, I'm really curious to like how stuff works, why stuff works, especially with basketball, man. I just love hoops. I just love playing basketball. I love watching basketball, talking hoops. And it's kind of been like that every level of my life with basketball. Like high school, I played varsity my freshman year. Didn't play a lot. We weren't very good. But like the more I played, the more I get used to the game and the style of play. Like from high school to college to professional, I start getting used to the game. Like I understand where I can be effective. I understand how stuff works, how different guys play. And like you said, after seeing me in 2016 with no professional experience, and then you give me 2 years, seeing me in the SAC G League and then Summer League, SAC Summer League in Vegas, I just understood the game better. Like I understood that I thrive in transition. I'm a really good defender. I'm a great teammate. And, I just tried to be really, really good at those things. And then obviously I'm continually to this day working on the other stuff that I need to get better at. And that's part of that G League chip on your shoulder of continuing to grind and continuing to want to get better. But yeah, a lot of it, man, is just experience.
Yeah. I want to ask you about your defense. First off, I'm curious how much you feel like respect or reputation that has changed since you first came in the league. I've experienced it from being a young player that probably not many people know about with our complexion, what comes with that. But now you've really grown to be like considered one, in my opinion, one of the best perimeter defenders in the NBA. Have you seen, I got to imagine there's been a huge shift in like, whether it be referees giving you a little bit more of a leeway with being physical, or just maybe people like calling you out a little bit less in like ISO situations. Have you seen that? Has there been like a noticeable difference for that?
It's crazy, because that's literally what it used to be when I got on the court. It was like I was the bring him into the ball screen. I was the ISO that guy. And honestly, I think that's kind of what's helped me become such a better defender and good defender than I am today, is like just getting reps at it. And like once you get over the initial, like, I won't even say nervousness, but just like hesitation of playing your game. Like it's just basketball at the end of the day. And man, for me, defense has always come easy for me. Like I love stopping other people or like frustrating other guys. And yeah, I mean, I've definitely seen some opinions change over the last couple of years, but yeah, I mean, obviously, there's still the elite that don't care who's in front of them, that aren't gonna. It's not really making a difference. But when I coming out of timeouts, I'm taking my little jog up the court to go pick up the ball full court. You get a couple deep sighs or a heavy eye roll, and they just. I think people understand now that's what I'm about, and if you play me, that's you're gonna have to work.
No, that's real, man. I mean, I've experienced the other end of that.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's literally like a vet vibe check. Like LeBron does this to guys too. Like if LeBron does it, a lot of the older vets in the NBA do it to where like if they don't really know who you are and you haven't played in the NBA for a while, you got to prove that you can hoop a little bit. And that's kind of what happens when you come in. Like I'm sure like you've always been a shooter, like you've always been a score shooter as a player, and I'm sure when you came in, like guys were like letting you shoot still, and it's like it doesn't make any sense, but that's just part of. It's weird how that's part of the NBA culture, but yeah, that's definitely a thing.
Well, that's what I was gonna follow up with, is that early on that like it played into my hand a little bit, because like guys would guard me and be like, man, like
loose coverage,
you know what I mean? Like I'll help out, like I'll be in the paint, be that third defender on everything, and it like played in my hand because I got open shots. So I was gonna ask you, do you feel that played into your hand a little bit of like, all right, like this dude's gonna put me on an island, like good, like here we go, like this is what I do.
Yeah, I mean, I'm confident in myself, man. Like I've guarded a lot of really good players, and obviously, the more I do it, the higher my confidence grows. But a lot of it, man, is just preparation. Like once I go out there, like I've read the scouting report, I know this guy likes to go left more often than not. So I play that, like understanding the scheme of our team, like all of it. It's such a mental game for me. Like I'm already thinking 2 or 3 things before they even make their move on offense. That for me, I'm not even thinking about, all right, I hope this guy doesn't score. Like, what is everybody going to think if he makes three shots in a row? It's like, I just got a short attention span and short memory and just compete every play. And most of the time it works out for me.
Yeah, that's something that has helped me, is that, and once again, like you're known for your defense, so it's probably a very different mentality, but it's something that's helped me, is that like you can play great defense and it's still the best players in the world. Like guys
score sometimes.
Yeah, they're still going to make plays. They're going to hit ridiculous shots where it honestly wouldn't matter what you could have done, but they're still gonna get theirs in some cases.
That's part of playing defense in the NBA too, that people don't realize, is like you can play phenomenal defense, like cut off the first move, cut off the counter, stay down on the pump fake after the counter, then they shoot a fadeaway over you and make it. It's like, all right, well, you can have 2 points, like, or 3 points. Like, I just got to try on the next one. And it's crazy. The play that kind of helped shape that for me was in the finals. Maybe 2017 or 16. It was the Warriors and the Cavs, and Kyrie was ISOing on Clay. And Clay, for me, is like, at the time, he was like the premier, like, 2-guard defender, like guy you put on somebody to shut him down. And he did exactly that. Like Kyrie made the move, went right, he cut him off, went behind his back, step back, pump fake, shot the ball, saw the replays, like fingertips touching his fingertips, and he makes it. And I'm just like, all right, if that dude's like the best defender in the league and he's getting scored on sometimes, it's like sometimes you just tip your cap and like, all right, live to see another day.
Right. Just make them earn them, which you certainly do. I want to ask you about, obviously, I'm sure everything on the court has changed for you drastically in the last couple of years. I'm assuming off the court, everything, things have changed. I'm sure some things have stayed the same, but has the attention, the viral moments, LA is a crazy fan base as is. So just that constant kind of pressured noise, if you're going out in public, whatever it is, has that been normalized at all? Or is that like, do you still get that and you're like, damn, that's crazy. Like that's really me on Twitter that everyone's talking about, or that's me, going down the street and people just are like stopping me for photos. Does that ever get normal, or is it still just kind of weird and strange?
It's kind of, I'd say both. I think there's some days where it's a little more normal, and some days where I'm kind of caught off guard. Because for me, you can attest to this too. It's like we still live our lives. Like I'm just Alex, and you're just Duncan. Like you go to the store, you go get food, like go to Best Buy. Like I'm just living my life, and then these people, like, they see you on TV or they see you on social media, and they in their head build you up to be this like incredible person or something. So they like want to take a picture or something. I'm never going to be the guy to say no. I'm a nice guy. I always, fans are great. Like I've missed the fans so much, with COVID, not having fans in the stadium. That's been like the biggest myth for me. So, anytime someone stops me or wants to say hi or something, I always do. But I think some days it's just different. Some days I'm like all humans. Like some days I just don't want to talk to people. Some days I feel like it's been a rough morning, or I'm thinking about something else going on in life, and I'd rather not talk to people. But I think that just comes with the job. That comes with one, being an NBA player, but two, playing for the Lakers. The Laker fans are in the best way possible insane. They're ride or die. They all think that they're basketball experts, and it's all in the purest form of just wanting to have success for the team. But yeah, man, I'm trying to be a normal person as much as I can, because that's how I feel when I'm not wearing a Lakers jersey or hanging out with the team. Like I feel like I'm just a normal person still. Like I go play golf, and I'll this is a good example. Like pre-COVID, like I would find a tee time by myself, like meet up, go play a random course, and there's like these 3 random people, and like they have no idea who I am. I'm like, this is great. Like I'm just gonna go enjoy my afternoon of golf, and
I love it.
Y'all have a good round. I'll have a good round, and I'll be about my way.
I love it. I've definitely done the same thing. People ask me that type of stuff, and first of all, I don't get nearly the attention that you get. No, like I stay like pretty anonymous in Miami, which I enjoy.
It's a blessing and a curse, man, I tell you.
Yeah. No, I hear you on that. But like my response to those types of questions is the same thing. Like I literally, outside of like playing basketball at 7:30 occasionally on nights, like it's just like I live like an incredibly normal, 100%. Pretty like unexciting, like as Davis can attest to. But yeah, it's just funny, man. People get like misconstrued in their mind that it's something other than that.
You know what helps me do that too is my boys back home. We have a group text, and like they send me more of like the memes and like the videos, and like they have more fun with it than I do. Like I at this point, there's been so many that I just kind of ignore it and like move along. But like if there's some good ones, they'll send it in there, and like they'll roast me a little bit and get after it. And that's what helps keep me mentally normal.
So Alex, you saying there are times where you don't want to talk to people. It makes me remember, I think on JJ's podcast, you mentioned in the bubble, elevator rides are awkward for like most people. Like if you get on an elevator, no one knows whether they're supposed to talk or not. This is going. But yeah, there's a story about how after, I think it was game 1, so you guys had just, kind of had your way with Miami. And then you're all in the same bubble, right? You're all staying in the same places. So you get on an elevator with Duncan. I imagine that has to be the most awkward elevator ride of all time.
Not as much awkward. I just didn't know what to say. It's like I'm in the middle of like the biggest competition. We're both in the middle of the biggest competition like of our lives, right? Up to this date. And I know he's probably pissed and upset because they lost the other day. And I'm like kind of in a decent headspace because we played well and got the win. And I don't want to say good luck because I don't want him to win, but it was just like a loss for words. I didn't know what to say at the time.
Yeah, that was a long 30 seconds because obviously obviously I know you and like
you were heading to practice or something, and I was like coming back from our meeting getting ready to get treatment.
Yeah, man, the bubble was full of like those types of interactions where it was like as long as we weren't playing in a series, I would always say hi, especially if I had a connection to someone. Obviously, we knew each other a little bit, but that was one of those where it was like I was just so pissed about how game one had gone for a variety of reasons. You know, I played terribly. I was basically a no-show. We got smacked. We got blew out. And like, of course it's just you. And like, I want to say hi to you because, you know, like we're cool and like we, whatever, but it was just one of those.
I tried my best. I promise.
Yeah. It's just one of those where it's like, you know what, man, I just can't. Like, you just gotta,
it's just like,
gotta braid through this one.
See you at the end of the road.
In sports, if you think joy only happens after you win, think again. Look at the world's most successful athletes. They don't spend all their days grinding away. They take the time to enjoy themselves, like having a Michelob Ultra with friends, because they know that happiness is the key to winning and that joy is the whole game, not just the end game. So grab a Michelob Ultra. It's only 95 calories and just 2.6 grams of carbs. Michelob Ultra. It's only worth it if you enjoy it.
You guys talked about, and Duncan, I've heard you talk about this, and Alex, you talked about it earlier, how the game kind of slows down as you get more and more experience.
Mm-hmm.
I imagine a finals run, you know, playing in 3-4 hard fought series just speeds that up even more, infinitely. Have you guys both seen this year that after that experience, the game just sort of slows down even more? Is there a different perspective now that you've made that push, you've made that run?
Yeah, definitely, dude. I mean, the like I said earlier with like my career at each level, like the more experience I get, the better I play, the more I understand the game. And, you know, going through the playoffs, man, the playoffs are so addicting. That it's so much fun. It's so much fun to play in the playoffs because everything is like intense. Everything matters. Not saying that regular season doesn't matter, but there's definitely not the same attention to detail. There's not the same intensity. There's not the same, you know, do or die mentality that you get with the playoffs. And honestly, man, like looking back and like now, like in the regular season, like these games are like, I'm like, these are fun. Like I like playing basketball in the NBA for sure, but I cannot wait to get to the playoffs again. Like that's like Rondo, one of my favorite teammates, just because he's such a great guy to compete with. You know, he kind of gets a bad rap because, you know, he was like hit or miss in the regular season, and I never really understood why. And then, you know, you hear the playoff Rondo, you know, you hear that, and then he actually shows up and does it, and like I 100% understand what that is now. It's like he's such a competitor. He's the most competitive person I've ever been around. He's such a competitor that like after so many seasons in the league and playing so many regular season games, like all he wants to do is win the championship. And it's like, it doesn't matter until you get to the playoffs anyway for him. So like seeing him in his element and then come out and play like that, it's like that, it clicked for me. It's like, okay, I understand now.
Yeah, totally can relate to that. I think that it's just such like elite competition. I mean, you said in there like every single detail, every single like possession, every single thing going into the game during the game matters to the point where like I just think it reveals like who has that like competitive spirit, that competitive grit. Like
100%.
It's so like, I'm not trying to get like too too like wordy with it, but like it's just like such like raw competition. I can't explain it any other way than that it like taps into that, in my opinion, what I like love most about basketball is just like feeling that and being like entrenched against two really good teams that are both just like trying to execute and compete at the highest level. But you said, I mean, now, you know, the game now is like for sure just because of that slowed down, just because the sense of urgency in those playoff series are so high. Like every single possession, every single action, it just feels like literally like life or death. Obviously it's not, because it's still basketball, but when you're in it and like it's your whole world and like that's the only thing you think about, it feels that way. At least it did for me, like especially when we were going through it.
I like what you said about like it's you figure out what players are like really about that life. Like you can tell like who at the end of the day is like not afraid to like let them hang and go out there and just compete, lay it all on the table and you know, get after it. That's, for me, man, that's what basketball for me has always been about. You know, that's just kind of how I grew up learning to play the game. That's what I watched from, you know, the generations before us. So I thought that's what it was about. and to be able to do that with the best players in the world, yeah, it's just special, man. It's a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun.
So we basically to wrap up, we're going to try to ask every guest a similar sort of question. So a question we have for you was, if you had to pick a specific experience or a moment, or maybe it be an interaction between a coach or a friend or anything that had the greatest impact on your career, kind of like a turning point, a springboard, or something of that sort. Is there one moment, or maybe multiple, that really stick out to you when you look back and are like, yeah, that was big for my career, my development, my trajectory that I've now been on?
Yeah, I got two that glaringly come to mind. One was when I was in college at the end of my sophomore year. Kyle Keller, who's the head coach at SFA now, he's the guy who recruited me through high school, and so I had a really good relationship with him, and he was really open and pretty straightforward with me. And he sat me down after my sophomore year and just basically like laid out all this stuff on a piece of paper. And like one side was like all the stuff I did in college, like play video games, like go out with friends, like play golf, stuff like that. And the other side was like all these things that tie in with like professional basketball and the NBA. And he basically told me, it's like, if you put in the time and work, like all this stuff on the right side of the paper is achievable. It's like, if you continue to do what you do and just enjoy college and enjoy playing basketball here at A&M, it's like, you'll have a good career and you'll enjoy it, but stuff on this side it'll be the maximum of what you can do. And that really opened my eyes to like working hard when nobody's watching and making sure you get it done. And then the second one was my first year in Oklahoma City, the Blue. Mark Dagnall, now the head coach of the Oklahoma City Thunder. Big shout out to Mark. He's still a good mentor and friend of mine. He had this saying called be where your feet are. Right. So 30 seconds on the clock before every practice in the G League, we just sat on the sideline, complete silence, and he ran the clock and you were present, made sure you were there. And for me, especially on the two-way contract and then moving forward, even in the NBA now, it's like, whatever I'm going to do, I got to be present in the moment. If that's working out at 8 a.m., that's working out at 8 a.m. If that's playing in the finals at 6 p.m., that's playing in the finals at 6 p.m. If that's recovery and watching film, that's what it is. And just really being present in the moment, that's really helped shape my career and shape me as a person, just to kind of, move forward and try and advance my career, advance myself as a human being.
I love that. And, I think you could probably relate to this, in that people ask me a lot, like Division III players will ask me, or like high school players who aren't getting recruited. It's like, how did you get to Michigan? Or like, how do you get to the NBA? And so much of it, I try to like tell them, and people don't really understand it, but it's like, you can't like forecast this stuff. Like, you can keep it like as the goalpost, like way down the line, as in like, this is my ultimate goal and this is what I'm working towards. But like, if you're waking up every day as a high schooler who's like not playing or not getting recruited, and you're like, I want to go play in the Big Ten, or I want to go play in the SEC, like, or I want to play in the NBA. Like, it's great to have those, but it's just not going to be sustainable. What it should be is exactly what you said, is like, be where I am, like excel where I am. Let me get on the floor in high school. Let me parlay, my 10 minutes into 25, my role reserved to a starter, and slowly start to build that. Couldn't agree more. I love that for sure.
Yeah, that's those two things, man. Those two things have really carried me throughout my career. And then, like I said, just being a good human. Yeah,
that certainly matters for sure.
That's hard sometimes.
Very hard sometimes. Like I tell you, those days you don't feel like talking to people. It's hard to be a good human,
especially with all those vices you have in LA. I mean, Miami's the same way. So
right,
yeah, it's a dangerous world out there. It's a dangerous world.
So actually, that's the last question. We actually have a segment to tie this whole thing together. I know you've been on JJ's pod, so he has a draft, right? Yeah. So you and I both, actually, and Davis for that matter, did not have the luxury of being drafted. So we have an undrafted segment.
Nice.
Okay. So we're going to give you 3 different topics, and all you have to do is pick one thing that is like the overlooked, the undervalued, the the undrafted of that category. Okay. So I'm gonna ask the first one, and it's gonna be, give me a player in the NBA who you feel is overlooked, doesn't get the credit that he deserves, isn't talked about in the media, whatever, but you think just night in and night out, or every time you've maybe played against him, he's really brought it.
I'm going to make up a rule. It can't be a teammate.
Can't be a teammate.
Okay. Wait, does this person have to be undrafted, or this is just a person in general? Okay,
no.
Gotcha.
They could be the number 1 overall pick. Doesn't matter.
Night in, night out, that doesn't get the attention they deserve. You know who I'm going to say? I'm going to say Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. I think that dude is an extremely talented basketball player. And even last year, I think he didn't quite get the credit he deserved, but that dude night in, night out just brings it, man.
No, he's tough. I was looking at some stat the other day that I think he leads the league in paint touches. Like, he always gets to the paint. He just finds a way. He's super crafty.
That's a special skill.
All right, I'm going to ask the next one. I was doing a little research before this, and it seems like you're a pretty big Office guy.
Oh, yeah.
So
Huge.
I'm going to ask you, who's the underappreciated character in that show?
So it can't be like Michael Scott. It's got to be
sure.
like
right.
I think it's Creed Bratton. I think that's.
Couldn't agree more.
I was gonna lean towards Kevin, but I feel like Kevin's too mainstream. I feel like Creed is the true undrafted, underappreciated member of the group. He always has that one part of like every other episode where he comes in and it kills every time.
Every time. Could not agree more. That's honestly the right selection. For this question, in that topic, there's a right and wrong, and you chose correctly.
That was kind of a setup, huh? That was like a true test to see if I actually watched The Office or not.
Yeah,
it really was.
I also like Dwight's brother. I think Dwight's
Mose
is a good choice.
Yeah, that's
Mose is a good choice.
Yeah, that's still the wrong answer though, Dave.
It's a good backup.
All right, the last one we got is a book that maybe you've read it, are reading, have read at some point, that you feel has provided value in your life. Doesn't have to be like a self-help type book. Could be anything.
Yeah, this book called, well, they're 2 books, but both by Jesse Itzler, called Living with a Seal and Living with Monks. Jesse is actually a part owner of the Hawks. And he's like wildly successful entrepreneur. He last year at the Hawks game, he's sitting courtside with his sons, and I went up and introduced myself because I knew who he was. I knew his story, shook his hand. And of course, one of our strength coaches who knew everybody, was friends with him. And he got Jesse to send me a couple of his books, and Jesse, being the great person, human and entrepreneurial, mindset that he has, signed him, wrote a little message, and then I read them, and they're both just really good. They're both really good books about one, mindfulness. The Living with Monks was really about mindfulness and kind of figuring out who you are and your purpose, and then Living with the Seal, without giving too much away. If you know who David Goggins is,
I was to say, it's with Goggins, right?
Yeah, he had Goggins come and live with him for a month. Some crazy stories in that, but really just about doing stuff that makes you uncomfortable and pushing the limits to see how far you can go as a person. Those 2 things. I mean, those books have been really, really good for me.
No, Goggins is a savage
animal, dude.
If I'm having like a slow Tuesday and I want to ramp it up, just go right to the Goggins videos. Just get you in
with
that
his shirt
place.
off, jogging in the middle of the desert, talking about stay hard. And
then absolute animal.
Later.
All right, man. Well, that's awesome. Really, really appreciate you taking the time. I know you're obviously plenty busy, but thanks for taking the time, and I'm sure that people are really going to enjoy the insight that you've given. So appreciate you hopping on, and good luck moving forward.
Appreciate it, Duncan. I'll see you down the road.